Hi, this is February 2026, and our verse for this month is 1 John 4:7. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God, and everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. 1 John 4:7. We're going to make a layout that came from a virtual sketch, and you can do either 1 or 2 pages. We'll start with the first page, and if you want to do the second page, I'll show you a couple of things we're going to do on each side. So on the first page, I wanted to do basically a wreath of hearts for February to go with our love verse here. And I used the largest circle with the blue blade on the outside first, and then the red blade on the outside to make a ring. The sketch that I am using came from a virtual crop, and let me show you that. I'm keeping it handy because it's late and I'm doing this and I don't want to mess something up because I don't remember something. But it has a large circle, a 6.5 inch circle. So if you use the largest of the circles with the blue blade, that's a 6.5 inch circle. But because I want to make basically a little wreath of hearts, I just want something to hold this circular shape in place on my page. So I just made a ring because I want to cover it up with hearts. So I'm going to stick this down on my page first, and I'm going to use repositionable tape. And you won't see all of this circle. About half of it's going to be hidden, and so I'm going to put the part of the circle that's a little wonky, but even so you wouldn't see it. And I'm going to put it almost all the way up to the top of the page. One other thing to note is in the sketch, it uses 2 12 by 12 base pages and then 2 11 3/4 by 11.5 inch pages on top of it. I did not want to use up that much paper, so I used 2 12 inch base pages, and then I used 1/4 inch strips all the way around. Gives it that same frame look, but it saves my paper. You're welcome to do whatever way you like. If you do a base page, you could always cut a frame out of the bottom to make it not so heavy. But that's what I did, is I just added a strip around the top. I haven't mitered the edges, but I probably will later. So the next thing I'm going to do is I want to add hearts to this circle. And I'm going to pull this over here for right now, so we can just concentrate on this page first. If you were going to do just a 1 page, you would add a strip here as well to make a frame all the way around. Now, the picture that I had, I saw a wreath at my mom's senior community, and it had hearts here, and some of them were flat, and then some of them were kind of like butterflies. They were halfway open. So what I'm going to do is try to recreate that. And my tape has decided it's not going to stick. There we go. Okay, so I'm using some red hearts, which I'm using Copper Canyon. Usually I don't use red with this, but the pictures I'm going to use have some red in it, so I thought I'm going to just go with it. And like I said, I'm not going to try and do the whole way around. I'm going to start about halfway, and I'm just going to put my red hearts on the bottom. You're not going to see a lot of them. It's just to give a little of that red color. And I'm covering up this white ring with my red circles. This is the Molten Lava Cranberry. I really like that shiny bit of color there. Some of the pictures I will use are for a Chinese New Year celebration. So it had a lot of red there. I'll also be having pictures from our Pie and Pages with friends there at Star Pizza. And my son Luke had a birthday on Saturday, and so I'm combining 3 different celebrations with this page. And I punched out, I think, 8 or 9 hearts to go on this part here. And like I said, I'm not going to try and cover the whole circle, but I do want to make sure I cover at least halfway. And I'll show you why in just a minute. I got a little bit too enthusiastic with that regular tape there. That's close enough. We're going to have a strip like this across. So you will not see that. And we also will have a border. I think I'll add one more circle right there just to make sure if anything sticks out. I'm going to go ahead and stick the other parts here on before I add the hearts that have the folded piece on top. So I've got two borders here. In the page it says they're 1 inch by 12. In the photo it looks a little smaller than that, but I'm going with it. But instead of leaving a gap, I'm going to just go all the way to the bottom just so I don't have to guess on each side whether I've got it even or not. And I liked this really nice dark dramatic paper. And I think I could have used one more red heart. I think I'm going to put it over here instead because, and scoot these out just a little bit more. I may go get me another piece of paper and punch some more, but I think I might can scoot these around good enough. We'll see. I used the old Creative Memories heart. There, I think that's perfect. That's good enough. Okay, which is the blue, and I used the biggest one. It's a 1.5 inch heart. Okay, so this next part, I punched out the same size hearts in a couple of colors, and I have this one. It's kind of a aqua pattern, and then I had just a aquamarine shimmer to go on top. But to give it a little bit of texture, I folded it in half like this, and then added a foam square to the back, and then I'm just going to stick it on top. When you put your page protectors, it's going to push down most of that fold up. But I think you'll still have just a little bit of, I don't know, texture, a little different feel to it. So you're going to put these kind of in between, and I have 2 different colors. I'm just I'm modeling, after, like I said, after something I saw on someone's door. So they had like pink and red, and I decided to go with more of the teal. So I'm going to layer them in between the intersections of the other hearts and alternate the colors. So you won't see a lot of that red underneath, but you'll see some. Hopefully I've done enough of these guys. I'm looking at my table thinking, probably not the best practice to do new things late at night, but I wanted to get this so that you had a chance to see it and have at least a day to think about what colors of papers you wanted to bring and work on, and kind of how it all goes together. I probably won't put everything together until I get that other side done, just in case we run out of time. I'd like to make sure we get that one. Okay, so you can see we have this ring of hearts on top of, and then more hearts on top of that. So it has a place where you can put your title here. I'll add that later. And then it has lots of banners. If you just did this one page, like I said, you would have a strip over here, or you would have framed, had a 12 by 12 and then cut this one to 11.5 by 11.5. And then you would add your photos. And I'm probably going to try and tuck that like that under. I don't want to cover up any of those. Oops, and I forgot my other. You're supposed to have another border. Sorry about that. So I'm going to stick that like that. Gotta pull that up for a second. Get that down. And so you can see you don't have a full circle showing, and so you don't need all of the hearts. And I'm going to stick that one back there for right now. And then you put your banners, add your photos, and it has a lot of 3 by 4, which I used to think were too small to really enjoy, but now that I have a photo printer that I can make 3 by 4 size photos, I've really started enjoying that, because not all my photos are that great, but a 3 by 4 size gives you an idea of what's going on, but doesn't take up a lot of your page, and it doesn't, if the resolution's not good, it's not a real blurry picture or something like that. So that's what the one page would look like if you just did that one side. If you want to add the other side, in this sketch, it is a 2-page layout. So the right-hand side, let's get this over there, has the same frame idea. It also has banners, and it has the strip across. So I'm going to go ahead and add all those pieces on, and then we can, I'll show you the other element that I want to add on that I also saw the same person's room outside that they had decorated for Valentine's at my mom's community. I thought, oh, very, very cute. And if you'll notice, I've used the Arrow Border Maker cartridge. Not sure if you can see that, but it punches out a really nice arrow, which I'm going to use for this other embellishment design part. But I like this Arrow Border Maker cartridge because it just lets a lot of that pretty paper show through, and hearts and arrows seem to go together. I think Debbie has mentioned that before. All right. And then it also has a bunch of different banners on here. It has 4 different banners of varying sizes, and I used just different strips that I had left over from that Copper Canyon to give some different colors. Then you would add your photos. It has a 4x6, and then it has 3 more of those 3x4 inch mats. These are actually 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. So your photos would be 3x4. So that's kind of how they would go. But I wanted to add in the sketch, it had another 6 1/2 inch circle on this side. I didn't want to add that big of a circle over there, but I did want to add a small circle. And I thought this one might be really cute. You'll notice I've used the largest circle. That's for the white piece here. And I used the red blade. I did use some inks. I just used some of the markers and put them on a makeup sponge and kind of gave it some definition to kind of give it that Copper Canyon marbly look. And then the outside mat is the smallest circle, and it's the red blade. It gives it a pretty big, thick mat. So I liked having an edging around that circle to set it off. In the picture, it had LOVE, and then it had arrows. My arrows that I punch out from this Arrow Border Maker cartridge are not as long as I wanted to. So I punched out several, and I used 2 for this part right here. And I'll show you how I put that together. I cut the little, I don't know, pointy parts off the back. I'm not sure what those are called. Off of the one and leave the point. And then I cut the point off of the other. And then I'm going to use my repositionable tape and stick this one down, the end first. You'll see I put the LOVE kind of like 12, 3, 6, 9 on a clock. And then I'll add the top part of that other arrow on the other side to make it look like one long arrow. And you can see that gives that crisscross look, which I thought was really cute. I have an embellishment somewhere on this table, a little round heart that'll probably end up going right in the middle to cover up any seams that I have. And then this would be added down here. Then I could add any others. I have a little journal box that I'll stick up somewhere. I'll have to figure out where I'm going to put it. But This is the basic layout. I haven't stuck anything down. I will do that and then take a picture to post with this video. Trying to think if there's anything else I left out. Hopefully not, and I hope that you enjoy working on this and that you know that you have that love of God. We'll talk to you later. Bye.